I never imagined I'd be the kind of person who posts a relationship story on the internet, much less one that sounds like the beginning of a cliché breakup thread. But it's been sitting in my chest for months, rotting there, and lately I feel like if I don't put it somewhere, anywhere, I'm going to keep replaying it forever. Maybe someone out there will read this and understand what I still don't. The whole thing started on a normal Tuesday. Not dramatic, not suspicious. Just Tuesday. We were on the couch after work, the TV playing some travel show she liked. I wasn't really watching. I'd had a long day and was mostly zoning out. She was scrolling through Pinterest or TikTok or whatever she was into at that moment. Nothing about the evening felt strange. Then her phone lit up. I didn't mean to snoop. It was literally right there on the cushion between us, face up. I wasn't even trying to read it. But when something bright flashes in your peripheral vision, your eyes go to it automatically. And I saw it. Missing you already, baby. Maybe it hit harder because it was in Ukrainian, her native language, the one she used rarely with me, usually only when she was being cute or flirty or playful. I'd always loved how it sounded, but in that moment it felt like a punch to the ribs. I didn't say anything at first. I just went still. She noticed because she always notices. She grabbed the phone faster than she needed to and tilted it away from me. "It's just a colleague," she said, very casually, as if she didn't just get a heart-filled message from a man calling her baby. A colleague. Sure, I'm not someone who jumps to conclusions, and I don't want to paint myself as the jealous type. I'm really not. But the tone of that message wasn't work friend. It wasn't teammate from the office. It wasn't even person who might be flirting a little. It was intimate, private, affectionate in a way no colleague should be. I tried to play it cool, pretend it didn't bother me. I told myself there could be a reasonable explanation. Maybe he was joking. Maybe it was some weird inside office humor. Maybe I misread something. But the pit in my stomach didn't care about reason. She continued watching the show. I didn't hear a single word of it. Later, when she got up to make tea, I realized my hand was shaking. Not because I thought she was cheating, but because something about her reaction felt off. She wasn't embarrassed or surprised, just dismissive, like she had practiced the answer. When she came back, she gave me my cup, kissed the top of my head, and curled up next to me like everything was normal. I tried to act normal, too, but my brain wouldn't shut up. Who texts a colleague, babe? Why is he missing her already? Already from what? I barely slept that night. The next morning, she was in a good mood. Humming, barefoot in the kitchen, making coffee, wearing my shirt, the navy one that always looked better on her than on me. She acted like the night before had never happened, and I kept staring at her, wondering how someone could look so comfortable while I felt like my insides were tied in knots. I tried bringing up the message again, gently, not accusing, just asking. Hey, that text from yesterday, what was that about? She shrugged, didn't even look up from her mug. He jokes like that. Don't overthink it. That phrase, the universal relationship shut down, don't overthink it. And maybe she was right. Maybe I was overthinking it. Maybe anxiety was filling in blanks that didn't exist, but didn't feel like that. It felt like she was avoiding something. We went about our day, texted normally. She sent me a picture of her lunch, a meme about cats, a voice note complaining about her boss. Everything was weirdly perfect, normal, as if the message never happened. But something subtle had shifted inside me. That evening she told me she had plans, drinks with coworkers. Apparently, they were celebrating someone's birthday. On any other day, I'd be totally fine with that. I'm not controlling, I don't track her, I don't question every outing. But after the message, I felt like I was watching a slippery slope in real time. Still, I didn't stop her. I felt ridiculous even imagining I had the right to. She kissed me goodbye, grabbed her bag, and left with a bright smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. The apartment felt too quiet after she was gone. I tried to distract myself, games, a podcast, cooking, staring out the window. But my mind kept drifting back to the message, the emoji, the way she hid her phone. I hated how paranoid I felt. I hated that I didn't trust her. I hated that I suddenly had a reason not to. Hours passed. At around 10 p.m., I checked my phone and realized she hadn't messaged me once. Not even a safe home later, or the bar's loud, or her usual blurry group photo with terrible lighting. She always sent something. It wasn't like her to be silent. When she finally came home, it was almost midnight. She wasn't drunk, but she had that slightly scattered look people get when they're trying to look more sober than they are. Her hair was messy in a way that didn't match the weather. Her lipstick was smudged a little, and the faint scent of cologne, not mine, clung to her clothes. "Sorry I'm late," she whispered, already heading to the shower. It ran longer than I thought. I nodded, pretending not to notice anything, because I wasn't ready to start a fight at midnight. She went to bed without talking. I lay next to her, staring at the ceiling, listening to her breathing, and wondering how someone can feel so close physically and so far emotionally. By the time morning came, I knew what I had to say. I don't know where the strength came from. Maybe from the exhaustion. Maybe from the realization that I didn't want to spend another day pretending I believed her. She walked into the kitchen, hair still wet from the shower, reaching for the coffee machine like nothing was wrong. "I think I'm done," I said. She froze. Not dramatically, just paused, like a video buffering. Then she turned to me with an expression I still can't decipher. It wasn't shock. It wasn't anger. It wasn't even sadness. It looked almost expected. "Okay," she said quietly. Just that. "Okay. No explanation. No denial. No effort." And that was the moment I realized the truth. I wasn't leaving her. She had already left me long before I said the words. The first thing you should know is that breakups don't feel like breakups right away. Movies make it look clean. Someone cries, someone packs a bag, someone storms out. In real life, it's much slower, much quieter, almost awkward. It feels like you're both waiting for the other person to say, "Just kidding." But she didn't say anything. Not that morning, not that afternoon, not that night. After I said, "I think I'm done," she simply nodded, told me she needed to get ready for work, and went to the bedroom to change. I stood there in the kitchen for a long time, watching the coffee drip into the pot, wondering if I had overreacted, wondering if I should go after her and say, "Wait, let's talk." But something inside me stopped me. Not pride, not anger, just this strange, heavy sense that whatever conversation we could have wouldn't change what I already felt. She came out dressed, grabbed her bag, and hesitated by the door like she was waiting for me to say something. But I stayed silent, and she left without closing the door fully behind her. The door clicked shut only when the building's draft pulled it closed. That sound stayed in my memory for days. The apartment felt wrong immediately. Too big, too empty. Everything reminded me of her. The mug she'd used every morning. The sweater she always threw over the chair. The stupid cactus plant she insisted we keep even though it was half dead. All these small, normal things suddenly felt like accusations. By noon, I started doubting everything. Was I being impulsive? Was the message really that bad? Was I being insecure? Did I throw away a multi-year relationship over one blurry text on a Tuesday night? But every time I tried to convince myself I was wrong, I kept going back to the way she reacted. Not guilty, detached. Almost like she'd been waiting for an exit and I had opened the door for her. I didn't text her that day. She didn't text me either. Around 6 p.m., when she usually came home, I kept catching myself listening for her keys in the hallway. Like my brain hadn't updated itself yet and still believed she lived here. When it finally clicked that she wasn't coming back, I sat down on the edge of the bed and cried for the first time in years. Not loud, not dramatic, just quiet, tired crying. The kind you don't even realize is happening until your face is wet. The next morning, I woke up to a message. Not from her, from our mutual friend Katia. "Hey, she told me you guys broke up. Are you okay?" So she had told someone, but not me. I replied something short and neutral. Katia asked what happened. I said just problems. I didn't want to get into it, partly because it hurt to type, partly because I still wasn't sure how much of it was real and how much was just me connecting dots that weren't meant to be connected. That entire week felt like I was living inside a fog. I went to work, but my brain didn't process anything. People talked to me. I nodded. I ate because I had to, not because I tasted anything. Nights were the worst. Everything gets louder in the dark. On the third day, she finally texted. Her, "Can we talk?" Me, "About what?" Her, "About everything." Me, we didn't want to talk when I was still there. She didn't reply for an hour. Then she asked if she could come by to pick up her things. Her things. I stared at that message for a long time. It felt unreal to imagine her coming into the apartment, not as my partner, but as someone collecting belongings like a stranger renting a room for a week. I told her she could come on Saturday when I wouldn't be home. I wasn't ready to see her. She didn't argue. Saturday morning, I packed her stuff into neat piles. Clothes, makeup, books, her hairdryer, the half-dead cactus plant she insisted was just sleeping. Touching her things hurt more than I expected. Every item had a memory attached like a tag. First road trip, first apartment, first stupid fight, our anniversary, her graduation, the birthday gift I spent too much money on because she said she didn't need anything, which obviously meant I want something, but I'm not saying what. All of it. I left everything near the door, locked the apartment, and went for a long walk so I wouldn't hear her come in. When I returned, her things were gone. She left the keys on the table. No note. I don't know why, but that empty table hit harder than anything else. For the next few days, I kept expecting her to message, to explain, to fight for us, to say something that made sense. But she didn't, and the silence made me question the entire relationship. Had she checked out months ago? Did she fall out of love quietly while I wasn't looking? Was the colleague more than she admitted? Did I miss signs? Or did she just stop giving any? On the 6th day, I finally opened her Instagram for the first time since the breakup. I told myself not to, but of course I did. She hadn't posted anything new, but she had been tagged. A coworker, the same one from the birthday gathering, had posted a group photo. Everyone was smiling, holding drinks, arms around each other. She was standing next to a guy. Not touching, not acting flirty, just standing close enough that it gave me a sick twist in the stomach. I checked his profile. I wish I could say I didn't. I wish I had more pride than curiosity. But heartbreak doesn't care about dignity. His name was something generic. His page was full of gym selfies and hiking photos and those motivational quotes people post when they want to look deep. He seemed normal, harmless even. But there was one photo, a story highlight from a month before, where she had reacted with a heart emoji. A small thing, insignificant by itself. But now, in the context of everything else, it felt like a breadcrumb I should have noticed sooner. And then I realized I was doing exactly what I promised myself I wouldn't do, obsessing, analyzing, dissecting every detail, trying to find a clean explanation for a messy situation. There wasn't one. Sometimes people drift away quietly. Sometimes a message from a colleague is just the final symptom of a relationship that had been dying slowly. I didn't text her. I didn't ask about him. I didn't ask if she still cared. I didn't ask why she didn't fight for us. But that night, lying in bed alone, I realized something I've been avoiding since the moment I saw that message glow on her phone. It's not the heartbreak that destroys you. It's the confusion, the not knowing, the unanswered questions. And I had a feeling those questions would only get worse before they got better. People say that time heals everything. Maybe that's true in some distant future, but in the first weeks after a breakup, time doesn't heal anything. It just stretches. Every hour is too long. Every day feels like two. You think you're getting better, then something tiny drags you 3 steps back. For me, that tiny thing happened about 2 weeks after she moved out. It was a Wednesday. I remember because I was microwaving leftover pasta at 11 p.m. after forgetting to eat all day. I sat on the couch, scrolling through my phone without really seeing anything. That's when I got a message from one of her coworkers, a guy named Yura. We weren't friends, but we'd talked a few times at office events. Enough that it wasn't weird for him to have my number, but weird enough that I knew something was off. Hey man, I heard about the breakup. You okay? The way he phrased it felt careful, like he was testing the waters. I answered with something simple. Yeah, trying to be. Thanks. Then he sent another message. Not my business, but you should know she'd been distant at work for a while. People noticed. I stared at the screen. My stomach dropped the way it did the night her phone lit up. Distant how? I asked. He replied almost immediately, as if he'd been waiting. Like she was somewhere else mentally. Always texting. Always smiling at her phone. Leaving early, staying late, coming in tired. It wasn't subtle. I didn't need him to explain who she'd been texting. I didn't ask. He didn't offer more. But the implications sat there between the messages, heavy and obvious. That was the first crack in the version of events I'd been comforting myself with. The version where maybe the message was innocent, maybe the relationship faded naturally, maybe I wasn't blindsided as badly as I felt. But hearing that she had been acting different at work, weeks before the breakup, made something snap into place. Still, I didn't let myself jump to conclusions. Not yet. I thanked him into the chat and put my phone face down. But sleep was impossible. My mind kept replaying memories in a loop. Her coming home late, her hiding her phone more often, her sudden girls' nights that didn't include pictures, her new perfume she said she got as a gift from the team, her mood swings, her distance, her calm response when I ended things. I realized I had been explaining away all of it like a fool. The next day at work, I couldn't focus on anything. Every email felt pointless. Every conversation sounded muffled. Around lunch, I finally gave in and did the one thing I'd been avoiding. I checked her Telegram profile. She had changed her profile picture. Not a selfie, just some aesthetic photo of a sunset. But her last seen time told me she was online constantly since 7 a.m. She never used to be that active during work. And then I noticed something small but painful. Her About section had changed too. It used to be some sarcastic quote. Now it was just a single emoji, a heart. Maybe it meant nothing. Maybe it meant everything. I didn't know, but the emptiness in my chest got heavier. By the weekend, I couldn't take the uncertainty anymore. I didn't want to stalk her, didn't want to beg for answers, didn't want to drag the situation out. But I needed clarity, not to get her back, but to understand what the hell actually happened. So I finally texted her. Can we talk? Just once. I need closure. She replied within minutes, faster than she ever replied to anything when we were together. Okay, when? We agreed to meet on Sunday at a cafe halfway between our apartments. Neutral ground, public enough to avoid drama, quiet enough to talk. I barely slept Saturday night. I rehearsed what I wanted to say, but nothing sounded right. I didn't want to accuse her of cheating without proof. I didn't want to look weak. I didn't want to beg. I just wanted the truth. Sunday came. I sat at the cafe early, hands shaking around the cup. When she walked in, my heart did something weird. It didn't break, but it tightened like it was remembering the shape of someone who no longer fit. She looked different. Not guilty. Not sad. Just lighter. Unburdened. She sat down across from me, pulled off her gloves, and said softly, "You wanted to talk?" I didn't know where to start, so I just asked what had been burning in my mind for weeks. "Were you talking to someone else while we were still together?" She froze for a fraction of a second. A small flicker, almost invisible but not invisible enough. Then she sighed. "I wasn't cheating," she said carefully, "but I was confused, and I talked to someone from work a lot. More than I should have. More than she should have." That phrase hit harder than a confession. "So you had feelings for him?" I asked. She looked down at her hands. "It wasn't supposed to be anything. It just happened. We got close. I didn't plan it. Did you tell him you missed him already?" I asked before I could stop myself. She winced, the tiniest wince, and that was the answer. She didn't say yes. She didn't deny it. She just stayed silent. And somehow, the silence was the worst confirmation I could have gotten. "I didn't want to hurt you," she finally whispered. I let out a laugh, not because it was funny, but because it was painfully ironic. "You did anyway." She swallowed hard. "I know." There was a long pause. A real one. No pretending, no avoiding. "Did you break up with me?" I asked slowly. "Because of him?" She looked at me then, really looked, and her eyes finally said the thing she couldn't. Yes. It wasn't a spoken yes. Just a quiet, honest, devastating one. I nodded. I didn't cry. I didn't shout. I just felt numb, like someone had unplugged all my emotions at once. "So are you together now?" I asked. She hesitated. "Not officially. We're just talking. Talking." The word felt like sand in my mouth. I leaned back, exhaled, and for the first time in months, everything made sense. All the distance, all the excuses, all the strange behavior, all the nights she stayed late at work. It wasn't me. It wasn't my fault. It wasn't a failing relationship, dying naturally. She had simply replaced me before she let me go. We talked for a few more minutes. Mostly meaningless small talk, but mentally, I had already checked out. She wasn't mine anymore. Maybe she hadn't been mine for a long time. When we finally stood up to leave, she gave me a sad, almost relieved smile. "I'm sorry," she said. I nodded. "Me too." We walked out in different directions. And as I turned the corner, for the first time since the breakup, a strange calm washed over me. Painful clarity. Sharp but clean. I finally understood what happened. But I also knew that understanding wasn't the same as healing. And the real pain, the deep pain, was still coming. The strange thing about closure is that it doesn't actually close anything. It just shifts the pain into a different shape, from confusion to certainty. For the first time since the breakup, I understood what happened. I finally had the truth. And the truth was simple. She had been halfway out the door long before I noticed. But knowing that didn't magically heal me. If anything, it made the next month worse. Much worse. The week after our cafe conversation, I felt hollow. Not depressed in the dramatic movie sense. No crying, no screaming into pillows, no smashing plates, just empty. Like someone had taken a scooper and removed every part of my personality, leaving the shell behind. I did things automatically: wake up, shower, go to work, answer emails. People talked to me, and I responded with basic words, like a chatbot running on 2% battery. I stopped listening to music. I stopped cooking anything that required more than one pan. I stopped opening the curtains. I stopped caring about the little things that used to define my routine. I didn't even talk about the breakup because the moment you say it out loud, it becomes real. And I wasn't ready for real. But the real world didn't care about my timing. One night, about 2 weeks after the cafe, I got a message from a friend. "Did you see her new story?" My heart dropped. I told myself not to look. I knew looking would only make things worse. But my brain was already typing her name before my logic had a chance to intervene. Her story was simple. A boomerang video of 2 glasses clinking together over a table in a dimly lit bar. Nothing incriminating. Nothing openly romantic. But the second I saw the man's hand holding the other glass, I recognized the shirt. The same guy from her coworker's Instagram. I stared at the story like an idiot, replaying it over and over even though there was nothing else to see. It wasn't even a kiss or a hug or anything dramatic. Just 2 drinks. That's all it took to ruin me for the night. My chest tightened. My throat closed up. I slammed my phone face down and pressed my palms in my eyes so hard they burned. I felt stupid, pathetic, weak, and more than anything, replaceable. That's the part no one warns you about. Not the heartbreak, but the feeling of being swapped out like a spare part. Of realizing someone else got the version of her I used to come home to. Someone else got her laugh, her texts, her thoughts, her energy, her attention. Someone else got the Karifko messages. The next day, I blocked her on Instagram. Not out of spite, out of survival. I didn't have the emotional armor to watch her move on while I was still learning how to breathe without her. Blocking didn't stop the pain, but it removed one source of self-torture. A few days later, Katia invited me out for coffee. I almost said no. I didn't feel like talking, and I didn't want to dissect every detail of the breakup like some forensic autopsy. But I also hadn't had a real conversation with anyone in weeks. So I went. We met at a quiet bakery. She gave me that look people give grieving parents, full of pity they're trying to hide. I hated it. "How are you holding up?" she asked gently. "I'm alive," I said, which was the most honest answer I could give. She nodded like she understood, then hesitated before saying something I didn't expect. She was wrong to handle things the way she did. I didn't react. I didn't trust myself to. But she continued anyway. It didn't just happen. She let it happen. She knew she was crossing a line long before you did. I stared at my cup. She never told me anything directly, Katia added. But she changed. Everyone at the office noticed. She was glowing, smiling at her phone all the time, leaving early to call someone. It was obvious. Just no one wanted to say anything. Every word felt like a nail in a coffin that was already sealed. I didn't blame Katia. She wasn't trying to hurt me. She was trying to help me see reality so I could move on. But hearing it out loud from someone else made the betrayal feel sharper, like a fresh wound reopening. On the way home, I realized something important. I wasn't mourning the girl I broke up with. I was mourning the girl I thought she was. The version of her that loved me. The version of her that wouldn't hide things. The version of her that was mine. She didn't exist anymore. Maybe she hadn't for a while. That thought hurt more than anything. The following week, things got a little better. Not because the pain went away, but because I finally let myself feel angry. Until then, I'd only felt sad, confused, guilty. But anger was different. Anger gave me energy. Anger gave me perspective. I wasn't the villain. I wasn't insecure. I wasn't imagining things. She didn't slip. She stepped. That realization didn't make me hate her. It just made me stop blaming myself. But healing isn't linear. Some nights I was okay. Other nights, I still checked my phone hoping to see her name, even though I knew she wouldn't text, and even though I didn't want her to. Then came the message that broke whatever progress I thought I was making. It was late, around midnight, when my phone buzzed. Her name, on my screen. I froze. My heartbeat jumped so violently, I felt it in my throat. I stared at the lock screen without opening the message for almost 2 minutes, too scared to see what she wanted, but too weak to ignore it. Finally, I tapped it. I hope you're doing all right. That was it. No apology. No explanation. No reason. Just 8 empty, meaningless words. It hit me harder than the story with the 2 glasses. Because that message wasn't for me. It was for her conscience. She wanted to feel like a good person. Like she cared. Like she wasn't the kind of person who left someone for someone else. I typed out 5 different responses. Deleted all of them. Then finally sent the only thing that felt right. Please don't message me again. I need space. She didn't reply. She didn't argue. She didn't apologize. She just accepted it. And somehow that cut deeper than anything she could have said. It meant she had already moved on. It meant I was the only one still hurting. It meant the chapter was already closed for her, while I was still stuck trying to understand the last page. But that night, for the first time since the breakup, I slept without waking up in the middle of the night. It wasn't healing, but it was a start. I used to think closure was something another person gave you. Some final conversation, some apology, some explanation that would neatly tie everything together and let you move on. But after everything that happened with Emma, I realized closure is something you build for yourself, brick by brick, even when your hands are shaking and you'd rather just collapse. The week after I blocked her, my phone felt unnaturally quiet. For months, I had lived in this anxious loop, checking notifications, checking if she was online, wondering who she was texting. And now, silence. At first it felt peaceful, then strange, then peaceful again. Funny how healing comes in cycles. I spent that week doing things I hadn't done in a long time. I went grocery shopping without rushing home. I cooked something that wasn't microwavable. I even cleaned the apartment in a way that wasn't just surface level before she comes over. And the whole time, I kept expecting some part of me to collapse in a loneliness. But instead, I felt lighter. Of course, my friends wanted all the details. My buddy Mark said, "Bro, you should have left after the first red flag." My coworker Jess said, "I'm proud of you. That stuff destroys people." My sister simply said, "I'm glad you chose yourself." But late at night, when the world got quiet, I found myself replaying everything. Not because I missed her, though a part of me did, but because I was trying to understand how I let myself stay in something that hurt so much. One night, about a month later, I opened a blank note on my phone. I didn't know why. I wasn't planning to text her. The wounds were finally healing, and I had no desire to reopen them. But something in me needed to say the things that had been bouncing around in my head. So I started typing. It began small. "I hope you're doing okay." Then the dam broke. "I don't hate you. I am disappointed. Yeah, I am hurt. But I don't hate you. I think you got lost somewhere along the way, and I got lost trying to follow you." I kept writing. "I used to check your phone because I felt insecure. But here's the truth. I wasn't insecure before you. I became insecure with you. There's a difference. I'm not perfect. I know that. But I loved you honestly. I never hid anything from you. And maybe that was the problem. I assumed transparency went both ways." I paused. My hands were shaking. "I know you lied to me. And I know you lied to yourself too. I think part of you wanted to be better, wanted to be honest, wanted to choose me. But you didn't. And that's okay. You don't owe me something you don't have." My chest tightened as I typed the next part. "I hope the guy you called just a colleague gives you the attention you were searching for. I hope you feel chosen in a way you didn't with me. I hope he treats you in a way that doesn't make you hide your phone under the pillow. I hope you learn to stop running when someone loves you. I hope I learn to stop shrinking to keep someone. Then came the hardest sentence of all. I forgive you. I didn't mean it entirely at first, but the more I repeated it in my head, the more true it became. Forgiveness, I realized, wasn't a gift to her. It was a release for me. A way to stop carrying a 100-pound memory around like a badge of failure. I continued writing. You won't hear from me again, and that's not out of anger. It's because we're chaptered people. We weren't meant to be a whole book, and that's okay. I loved you. I really did. And saying goodbye to someone you love is like amputating a part of yourself. You survive, but you never forget the phantom limb. And maybe that's what heartbreak is, learning to live with the echo of what didn't last. When I finally stopped typing, I stared at the message for a long time. It wasn't polished or poetic. It wasn't angry or pathetic. It was honest in a way I hadn't been able to be when everything was falling apart. And then I did something that surprised even me. I deleted it, not out of weakness, not out of fear, but because I realized the message wasn't meant for her. It was meant for me. Those words were the closure I'd been waiting for, and I didn't need to send them to heal. After that night, things changed. I slept better. I woke up without checking my phone. My mind wasn't running mental marathons anymore. I even started talking to people again, not romantically at first, but just reconnecting with the world. A few weeks later, I heard from a mutual friend that Emma and the colleague didn't work out. Apparently, it fizzled fast. Apparently, she'd been a mess afterward. Apparently, she asked about me once. And for the first time, hearing her name didn't make my stomach drop. It didn't make me angry. It didn't make me nostalgic. It just passed through me, like a gust of wind that no longer affected the direction I was walking. I'm not going to say I'm fully healed. Healing isn't a switch. It's a slow, uneven climb. But I can say this. I'm not the person I was when this story started. I'm someone who learned the hard way that staying with the wrong person drains you more than being alone ever will. Someone who learned that love shouldn't feel like detective work. Someone who finally understands that losing someone who lies to you isn't a loss. It's a second chance at peace. And if you're reading this because you're going through something similar, here's the only thing I know for sure. When someone shows you you're no longer their priority, let them go. Your heart will hurt, yes. But one day, you'll wake up, breathe deeply, stretch your arms, and realize that heartbreak didn't break you. It freed you.